Joining me now is independent MP Dai Lee. Dai, great to see you. I wonder how you are viewing this debate at the moment. I always feared it would get to this ugly stage. I hoped it wouldn't, but here we are.
Yeah, look, I think the whole issue with the yes and no campaign, you would hope that it's not about race, or it's not racism, or it's not about ugly name callings. It's about presenting two different perspectives on why a yes or a no. But from my perspective as a member for Fowler, as you know, Laura, I have mentioned to you previously, really in my electorate, it's not a subject that has come up. And our community has different, obviously, focus and priorities in my electorate. And, we will just, continue with business, and people are still obviously raising issues of cost of living, housing, affordability. And so for me, that's a priority to ensure that we get more affordable housing, getting construction going so that we actually can address that whole issue around housing affordability for an electorate like Fowler.
We'll talk housing in just a moment, but are you inclined to vote yes, or you haven't declared?
Laura, I have maintained, obviously voting, as we know, in Australia is a secret ballot, and my stand has always been that it is a personal vote, and voting for us in this country is a democratic system. We vote how we want, and I believe that it's up to the individual in the community to do how they feel and what they feel is right for them. And so I believe that I maintain that stance. I will let my community, a very diverse community, make their own decision on October 14th.
Okay, so is the diversity of your community, does that mean it's as divisive in Fowler? It seems to be everywhere else. So you are maintaining kind of a neutrality there? Is that your motivation?
Yeah, it's very, look, it's very neutral, and I think my community is very cohesive, and so they have, like I said, other issues to prioritise. So there's no divisiveness in my community about this matter, because this matter actually does not really go into my community the way that it's actually being portrayed, that we've heard and seen in the media. I'd be interested to actually know if it's as divisive in other electorates, because in my electorate it doesn't present it that way. We don't have that debate there, because that's not an issue that we would debate over.
We saw the housing debate ramp up this week because of a suggestion from Tim Gurner that the unemployment rate needs to go up. And workers need to be more grateful for their job. But that's by the by. We also heard at that same summit developers essentially saying this promise of 1.2 million homes is just not going to happen because they don't have the supply chains in order and they don't have the workers to do it.
Yeah, look, absolutely. I think that the idea of building 1.2 million homes, that is going to be, sometimes I think that, government sort of just pluck a number from the sky and just give that without actually sitting down and analysing and talking with the stakeholders and talking with those who are in the industry to understand what's going on. As we know, construction costs have gone up, and my understanding is in the last couple of years it's gone up by about $130,000 in construction costs, and so everything has gone up, as you know, Laura, through the whole COVID period. I just sometimes don't know how is it that the supply chain, we have not actually looked at and analysed all of that and how that will impact on building a house, and so therefore the idea that you can build that's going to be really not maybe in a decade, perhaps not even in a decade, that we can achieve that 1.2 million homes.
What's the relationship between what's happening in the housing industry and Labor's new proposed IR laws? Do you have a view about whether the new IR laws are going to make it easier or harder for that industry to build more homes?
Look, I think increasing, of course, we need to increase, obviously, the wages for those that are on low wages, the nurses, those that are on the front line, the key workers. But then I don't know how that's going to impact. As I said, we currently have already seen the cost of construction gone up in housing? And as we talk about building more houses, how have we added that cost in to the release of land, the building, the construction, the paying salary and wages, and in addition, all of the other penalty rates and all of the rates that a developer has to then include when you build a house. So that at the end of the day, consumers, those who want to buy a house or rent, would have to pay that cost. So really, we need to really talk real terms and be practical about it, and therefore getting people together to talk about how do we make it affordable. And I don't know how we can make that affordable, because for me, I grew up in public housing. Public housing gave us the leg up, and that's what it gave my late mother the opportunity to be able to go to work, cleaning houses and working in the kitchen when we first arrived here. And those affordable housing or social housing back then was a stepping stone. It's not an entitlement, and I think that's another conversation we have to have, is that to assist people like myself to transition to be able to one day own a home. But it's not something that it's not a destiny, that's something that is there for us to be entitled to towards the end, but it's just a stepping stone.
Telling your story, again, I never tire of hearing it either, I must say, Di, but comments in the recent days from Marsha Langton talking about, base racism, also the quote that's come forward today, Australia is a racist, horrible, racist country. Do you think what's your perspective on that?
Look, I'm going to get emotional here, Laura, because of course, it's like I said, Australia gave my late mother and my sisters a start in life. Sorry, because my mother passed away just so recently.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. And
so I'm very grateful for the opportunities. And of course, Australia came out of the White Australia policy when we first arrived. And any countries, as we evolve, you get to understand those challenges. And that's why I wore my Australian dress, the flag, because I love Australia. There are flaws in any society, but Australia is not a racist country. It's a country that's growing and is maturing and is embracing its diversity. And I think as an Australian of Vietnamese heritage, and I know of other Australians in my Fowler electorate of diverse backgrounds, they really appreciate and love the fact that I stand up and wore that Australian flag dress, because they came to Australia because they wanted a new life and the freedom that we experience here and the democratic system that we've given here. So I think the word, of course, there are people who are racist, but it doesn't mean Australia is a racist country. Far from it. We have a lot. We are in a region that is very, in the Southeast Asian region, and we have become a multicultural country. So we are embracing that. But I think that it doesn't help. My community is very diverse. It's the most culturally diverse electorates in the whole country. And I think that we are an example of that, of the new Australia. So I think that it doesn't help that when it comes to this referendum, that for people to bring race into it, it's just does not help. And I'm glad that my community, a very diverse community, is still living side by side. Huge differences in cultures, huge differences in perspectives and beliefs, as living side by side in harmony.
Di, very gracious of you, and I love that Australian flag dress, and I note you're wearing the green and gold today. I'm sure that's not by accident.
Yes.
If I was there,
green and gold.
If I was there, I'd give you a hug. I'm sorry to upset you this morning, but always love chatting. We'll speak soon.
That's okay. Sorry. Thank you. Thanks, Laura.
No need to apologise at all.